Hello and welcome to another Game Nexus arcade video. Today we're going to be taking a look at Cyber Troopers Virtual On, released on the Sega Model 2 arcade hardware. And as you can see here, the controller I actually used to play this is the Sega Saturn Twin Sticks. And let me go ahead and take the camera off the tripod. I'm going to show you really quick how I have this hooked up. So, you'll see over here we have the Sega Model 2 board. And the Twin Sticks goes into this here, which then goes into that little box there. And inside that box is a Retrotronic Neo Geo to Sega Saturn adapter, which basically allows you to connect a Sega Saturn controller to a Neo Geo console or anything that's compatible with that 15-pin connector. And then this is a Neo Geo Extension cable. One of the ones, if you've seen any of my videos, I typically would splice into my normal arcade controls. Then this goes into the pins of the Sega Model 2 control adapter. A few of them go into player 1 side, a few of them go into player 2 side. I know for a fact that the left stick on the Twin Sticks is up, down, left, right for player 1. I want to say the right side of the Twin Sticks is up, down, left, right for player 2, but what I will do is, while I'm talking here, I will put all of the player controls here. And the only other different thing I have, of course, RGB here, power here, control here, sound here, all the normal things. The only other thing here is this one here is the power output, with +5 on one side and ground on the other. 1 +5 is going into the control, so it powers this little box here, the one that's doing the conversion, and the other one is going into the video converter, and then the grounds are going into the video converter and the controller, because they both have to be grounded. And everything else is just normal. When I made these little adapters here, the day after that I did some quality of life improvements on the power cable, so I got some twist ties on them so they no longer look like a rat's nest. I'd done that same thing when I was doing the Star Wars Trilogy arcade the other time. But yep, that's pretty much all there is to do with this. The only downfall with this particular controller, but I don't really see it as a downfall, is that all of the buttons here work. But for some reason, since the Neo Geo adapter has to have, there's less buttons on the Neo Geo controller than there is on a Sega Saturn controller, one of the buttons has to be duplicated, which ends up being the trigger and the button on this side. So only one of these will do dash, but that's the only downfall. Everything else works as if you would imagine. Start works, everything. So let me just take you into the test mode really quick and I'll show you a couple things here. There's nothing too amazing, and I will also explain a reason why I'm going to release 2 videos for this game, because when I first set this game up, it actually was set up for 2 matches per basically best of 3, kind of like you would have in a regular fighting game. But the default setting is just 1 match per round, basically. So let's go ahead and take a look here. And of course, all of the regular tests, just like any Model 2 board. If I go into, see if I can pass it, but here, game assignments, everything here, see how it all says 1 times, 1 times, 1 times? They were all 2 times before. I set the advertised sound loud, but I haven't seen any difference. But yeah, that's basically the ins and outs of the test menu. It's nothing amazing. So let me just get out of this. Okay, if I can just stop going through the menu so many times here. And of course, if you have two of these boards, you can actually link them and have two-player games. But let's go ahead and get out of the test mode, and let's take a look at Saber Troopers Virtualon. And as you can see from the title screen, this game was released in 1995 for the Sega Model 2B arcade hardware. And as you can see, there are various different characters that you can choose from in this game, all like your different mechs. And just for fun, at the very end of this video, what I'm going to show is how that takeoff differs when you're in the later space stages. Instead of like seeing your Virtualoid actually go over the water, you see them go into space, which is kind of cool. So I'll throw a clip in that at the end of the video here. But the general gist of Virtualon is it is a twin stick shooter. One stick moves. Basically, the way that the sticks work is pushing both sticks forward moves you forward. Both sticks back push you back. Both sticks to either direction moves you to that direction. If you pull both sticks out to the sides, you jump. If you push one stick forward and one stick back, you turn to the direction of the stick that is pushed forward. And then of course, your weapons are the triggers on the sticks. Your dash are the buttons on the top of the sticks, and of course you also have the start button. But that's the basic gist of how you control Virtualon. And now, even though it says 1995 on the title screen, from what I'm seeing here, this game was actually released in worldwide on arcades in 1996. Now, there were a couple of different versions of this game. The first one, of course, being the Sega Saturn version. It got released on November 29th of 1996 in Japan. It was released on November 8th of 1996 in North America, with a release on in Europe sometime in 96. It doesn't actually give me a date here. Now, this game actually got released on the personal computer on June 13th of 1997 in Japan, and September 11th of 1997 in North America. And something I actually didn't know until fairly recent, there was actually a special version of the Twin Sticks that was released for the PC to go along with the Japanese version, which I would imagine, just like the American version of the Sega Saturn version, you probably could use the American PC version with the Japanese PC sticks, because that's one thing that's kind of funny, is that the manual shows the twin sticks for the for the American version, but the twin sticks were never released in America. But of course, if you buy yourself a pair of Japanese twin sticks, you can use them with the American or even European version. That compatibility is still there. So I would imagine the American PC version would work with Japanese PC twin sticks. But now, going a little bit further, on October 7th October 25th of 2007, there was the Sega Ages 2500 version on the PlayStation 2 in Japan, featuring improved frame rates, music, and additional features not found in the original versions. And of course, the original game was also re-released on Xbox Live Arcade and PlayStation Network on PlayStation 3 as part of the Sega Model 2 collection in 2012 in Japan and 2013 in the West. And then in 2018, Sega announced they would be releasing the game for PlayStation 4, and then eventually that get released on November 27th of 2019 on the PlayStation 4, exclusively in Japan this time. And of course, various consoles have had Virtualon games and twin stick peripherals. Of course, there was the Twin Sticks for the Sega Saturn that we had here, and then the Sega Dreamcast had one as well, and there was even one for the Xbox 360 and Virtual On Force. PlayStation 4 actually had a Twin Stick peripheral for this game. This game, all of its sequels, and the game that was the game on the PlayStation 4. And from what I understand, that was actually a crowdfunding project that ended up getting the Twin Sticks for the PlayStation 4 released. And now one thing I have to say is kind of weird about this boss. I know sometimes when you will fight this boss, the boss seems aggressive when you first fight him, but then what happens is the boss seems to get a lot easier after you
This version is not a simulatory system. All registered user data will be transferred to the deployed virtual system memory bank.
Now, what I was saying was, the boss gets easier like the second time you face him. And what I had mentioned before is that when this game was first set up, I actually had, it was actually set to best of 3 matches, kind of like a normal fighting game would be. And I've had a lot of trouble trying to get through it that way, because the problem is this has some, what I like to call, arcade difficulty, and I have this, set to the default setting normal. And some of the characters are honestly near impossible to get through on 2 matches. So, I have another gameplay that I'll be releasing after this that I'll call my alternate plays, in which you'll see me do that 2-match setup, just to get a little bit more of this game. And just maybe I did some different things in that gameplay. But the only problem is I didn't know that if you won by running out of time and you had more health than the boss, you would get a mission failed and then the game would just end. So in that actual gameplay, you will see that happen. But one thing I definitely have to say about Virtual On is it's a very fun game. And although, honestly, at this point in my life, I've never actually played this competitively against another player, I would imagine this would be a really fun game to play against somebody else. But unfortunately, the only way to do it is if you link 2 Sega Saturns or link 2 arcade boards, and then of course had 2 sets of Twin Sticks, because personally, in my opinion, the only way to play Virtual On is with a legitimate pair of Twin Sticks, because that's kind of how the game is meant to be played. So that's why I went through all the trouble of getting the Sega Saturn to Neo Geo adapter, then figuring out the actual pinouts for the board, and then actually wiring the whole thing up so I can use the Twin Sticks. Because the simple fact is, the one thing I had originally thought is, if you recall my Initial D video, I have an Initial D control panel I actually use for that. But the unfortunate thing is that the finding a Virtual On arcade panel just seemed very hard to find. And then of course, when I would eventually find out that it's all just digital controls and it's not twin analog sticks, it's just easier to wire up the Twin Sticks for the Saturn, because that uses digital controls as well. And now that last match, I must have been fighting that character for 30 minutes. Because no matter what, it seemed like the AI just went on super overdrive. The only way I ended up getting past her was to win by having more life when the time runs out. And what you're seeing with this character, at least in this gameplay, was my only time actually facing him. And as you can see here, I kind of tried my best to beat him, but this was another case where I actually only beat him by having more health when the time runs out. I don't recall in my bonus plays video that you're gonna see after this one if I had actually beat him or not, but you'll get to see me face him in 2 matches and win that way. And now, as you can see here, the time's gonna run out and I'm just gonna win.
Get ready.
And what's really weird is that that robotic voice actually says the name of the stage, so it was like Nirvana, which is Nirvana, since it's a weird robot voice. But the basic gist of this boss is it has 2 attack modes. The onslaught of all this stuff it's going to throw at you, then it'll turn gold and do like this death ray. And when it's converting between its gray mode where it's just shooting you and its gold mode, when it's in gold mode, it is very much weak to your attacks. But when it's in gray mode, its armor's super strong. So what you have to do is when it's gonna try to shoot you, shoot a lot of stuff at it when it's in gold mode, but make sure that big cannon does not hit you or you'll instantly die.
Mission complete. Virtual operation system interruption. Player minute free.
And I definitely have to say that Virtual On is a very fun arcade game to play. And as I had said earlier, I would imagine it probably would be a lot more fun playing this against another player, because one thing that I really find with the arcade game is that the AI really tries to beat you no matter what they do. And of course, I probably have said this in a lot of my arcade videos, but of course that is so you'll end up putting more quarters into the machine. But that goes without saying because it's an arcade game and they want you to spend more money on the machine, so there's a point of that machine being in the arcade. But this is a really fun game. I really recommend if you have some way to either play it in the arcade with the real sticks, or if you have a way to play one of the various home versions with twin sticks, I'd really recommend it. Either the PC version with the rare Japanese PC twin sticks, or the Sega Saturn version with the Japanese twin sticks. And basically what it shows is somehow your Virtualoid ended up being trashed at the end, and I guess it's just this big ring of junk. But yeah, this is definitely a very fun game to play, and I was very glad I was able to get the twin sticks to work on the arcade version, because I think that was a really nice touch here. But for some reason it shows a different character fighting the boss. And see, there's that death ray I was talking about. If that hits you, it will absolutely instantly kill you. But Virtual On's a great game. I highly recommend it, and this has been another Game Nexus arcade video, and I will see you later. Bye. Oh, and at the very end, I'll show that taking off from Space Clip.
Space Dog. Get ready.